third-year graduate student in the Department of Marine Sciences. I'm originally from Seattle, but I've been living here in Chapel Hill and attending the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill for 3 years.
Fourth-year graduate student at UNC's Chapel Hill's Marine Science Department, and I study vitamin metabolism and diatoms.
They take, and they're like a tree in that they can take energy from the sun and carbon sources and turn it into their biomass. And they're actually really important. Just like trees, they also produce oxygen. So they produce half of our oxygen globally. They're the base of food chains. So that's why it would be interesting to study the Galapagos.
Hasn't been a whole lot of research done down there. There's been some, but there hasn't been this long-term observational study in place to see how the phytoplankton community is changing. I think we were on the boat for around 2 weeks. Yeah, it was roughly 2 weeks. It was a park vessel, so this was a huge collaboration with the Galapagos National Park and the Galapagos Science Center. Wake up at 5 and take a shower. And then by 6, everyone would eat breakfast, like hearty breakfasts. And at 6 a.m., some of the scientists would get out on the Zodiac to go do observational studies on the islands. And so then by 7, Carly and I and a couple other people that stayed on the boat would steam out to do our casts and collect our water. So the whole water collection process of putting the CTD down and then putting the Niskins down would take maybe an hour and a half. And then we would spend 3 or 4 hours just filtering.
It's like you're on Mars. It's like a black Mars or something. It's kind of crazy and it's almost surreal. Like sometimes, like a couple times we got off and I couldn't believe where I was. It was kind of amazing. But what's almost equally amazing is what's beneath the water. Like we swam with penguins and we saw like urchins like that were just huge, and all these little tiny baby corals and sea lions. The first time we went snorkeling, we saw like huge manta rays. At one point I was surrounded by 6 sea turtles, and the water was filled with all of these little tiny egg sacs. And it sounds gross, but the way the light hit it, it was like kind of slightly pink, and it just looked like little pink jelly bubbles. And I don't know, it just made the water look really pretty.
Some of the islands are more developed. There's even people that live on some of them that have brought cattle with them. So there's goats on some of the islands and some feral cats. But really it's the sea lions that own all of the islands. There also is a ton of plastic on the islands, which is pretty sad. There's these beautiful islands that are so pristine and haven't been touched by people really, at least some of them, but then there's plastic everywhere. I remember being on the deck with Carly, like rinsing bottles or putting them in acid or something, and we look up and there's a flock of these huge black birds called frigate birds, or las frigas, I think it is in Spanish, and they're gigantic and they were so close to our heads, so that was definitely the craziest thing I've ever seen.
I just like the fact that we went to all these islands that tourists don't get to go to. The whole experience will be something that I remember for the rest of my life.